unorthodox. However, I myself, as the DM, will be giving a recap of last session since it was in person, and we were unable to get cameras recording, so instead, we recorded the audio. I went over it, and instead of posting 8 hours, I will simply recap it myself, attempting to give as much detail as I feel is necessary for a viewing experience. Last time, the party had crowned Lord Eastvaughan III, and were quickly informed that Lord Eastvaughan would be focusing on different measures at the moment, and that their connection to him would be through Sir Orrian, who would be his vocal point and his point of correspondence with the party from henceforth. Thus, the Steward had given the party 3 quests to say. The first was to secure the loyalty of the 3 main players of Plotomy. The second was to solve the problem of the Fork in whatever was sinking ships. The last issue was that of Grey Keep, and to silence the outspoken house in whatever ways the party saw fit. That could, of course, be interpreted to any way as the players would like to do, understanding their different approaches to such. The party first tackled, or attempted to, the regarding of loyalties within the capital. They visited each. The Merchants Navy had given them a number they could either pay to secure their loyalty for henceforth until the conflict had ended, which was about 30,000 gold to pay for some of the sunken ships, or at least one of the larger freighters from the terror of the Fork. Or they could solve the Fork's terror itself by putting an end to it, which aligned quite well with the request from Lord Eastvaughan. Second, they went to House Llewellyn, led by Lord Cedric after they were let in through some diplomacy. And whilst within Lord Cedric's home, he had given high praise of Lord Eastvaughan and that his family was loyal to the end. He had no thoughts of rebellion and has toned down the whispers amongst his own court. He did request the party, if they ever got a chance, to see a woman within the marsh and mire that his son was seeing. As his son was promised to another, he wished these correspondences to stop, and for the party to speak with that woman in seeking them from stopping. He knows not where she is in the marsh, but he had thought that thus would be enough to set his son on the right path. They then went and spoke with House Edweir, with Lord Stefan. Lord Stefan was quite dismissive of the party as he was training a younger female in archery lessons. Presumably his daughter. The party never gathered that information. And whilst the party was inquiring of his loyalties, he simply stated that he had no enemies within the capital. Unsatisfied with this answer, the party had left after being requested as such, witnessing the young lady scoring a few shots upon the bullseye. They returned with their findings to the steward, Sir Orrian, and Sir Orrian was not pleased with House Edward's claims of loyalty, so he had been unable to promise the extra funds to the expedition. Yet, he said, simply keep working at it and secure that loyalty to a degree where I'm comfortable with it, and the expedition will receive extra funding as promised by Lord Eastvaughan, as these extra quests will increase the funding of the expedition to the desert to search for Rudius's father, Gale Domans. The party then decided that their best action would be to head south. So they gathered their things and began their travels as to appease the Merchants Navy, who had yet to been appeased, and to tackle that third option. Whilst within the city, before they had left, Sir Rudius had spoken with the son of Lady Estrin of House Arlen, who is the ruler of the Grey Keep, located within Rhinskire. While speaking with him, after he had searched for her daughter to speak with, as he was staying in the same location as she was, he informed him that his sister had ventured back down to the Grey Keep itself, and after a few high rolls and persuasion checks, was able to gain the insight of what the house is effectively attempting to do. House Arlen is getting ready to mount their rebellion. They are simply gauging the relations they have with others and stacking their chips in one corner of the table. After learning of this, they left. They left the city, and they ventured south. Whilst heading south, they heard screams coming from the marsh about a day into their travel and ventured into the waist-deep marsh, much to the trouble of the dwarf of the party. And whilst within the water, a hydra appeared, and a conflict broke out. A quick summary of such: the druid had used water shape and pushed, or a spell in such a vein, not to my knowledge, I don't remember it clearly, but he used a spell to push the water aside and give a flat battleground for the party, and the party was hacking heads off of the Hydra consistently. However, not consistently enough, and until about halfway through the conflict, they had realized that only through fire damage would these heads not grow back. So at one point, I believe they were fighting 16 heads upon the Hydra, which was a menace to the party. However, the Fools and the Stag proved capable and slew the beast. And once they had done, they set up camp back upon the road and rested for the night. Mudic had talked to a woman that approached him in the night. This was a more druidic woman, similar to Soren within the party, and the two had a brief discussion about the creatures in the area and how she thanked them for slaying the beast that had been disrupting the wildlife. And on a point for Mudic Ashbelt, he had received a letter whilst the party was attempting to handle relations with the houses of the city and the merchants' navy, the guild of the city. And the letter's contents are known only to him as of now. After this discussion, Mudic informed Soren, who kept second watch, and then the party continued down their travels until they had reached Runeskaya, and they were let in by the guards, with Rudius deploying a ploy that they were there to serve House Arlen and fight behind the Golden Sun, or the throne of Rukold. Once they had done this, they had ventured to the Grey Keep, and once there, they had a very dastardly conversation with Lady Estrin, who, unlike her daughter and unlike her son, had decided that force, in a show of such, was the best measure of action to gauge the loyalty of the rogue nobleman who had slain Firnielkir, the leader of Vikath. Having his loyalty is quite important in this current political situation, so this demonstration of force was thought to be a measure, or at least one that she had presumed to be one that would be worthwhile in its approach. As the party entered in, as I had described, this Volker-esque throne room, guards layered the sides as she had kind of forced Rudius to state his hand. With some clever persuasion and deception checks, the party was able to exit diplomatically, and no conflict had arisen within the Grey Keep. Once they had left, Lady Alara, the daughter of Lady Estrin, had run into Rudius, apologized for the demonstration of force, and had informed him of the more holistic plan if they were to rebel. She had claimed that she would go onto the throne of Rukold, a younger, more able to be accepted leader instead of her older mother, and that she, being the heir of House Arlen, would take the reins of being Magus of Rukold, but with lacking any of the magical abilities of Lord Istvan or the House Lanotatir, it would be more holistic and one of the people kind of styles. Rudius, seemingly convinced with such an argument, took in the party's thoughts of such as they were leaving, and Artemon was a quite outspoken character of that claim, stating that she would just be a puppet of her mother, and that don't believe her lies, don't believe this, don't believe that. Yet, Rudius holds in himself a thought of truth to Lady Alara's claims. After such a run-in, the party felt unsafe within Runeskier and decided to go to one of the villages, as they had been hearing rumors of malignant entities causing disruption within them. They had heard such from Lord Cedric, as he was asking them to look into the lady. They traveled into a village, and whilst they had not seen any of the villagers, and those that they did seemed hard at work, toiling against the ground, they headed to the mayor's home. The town hall of this village entered inside, and it was soulless. Dust had accumulated on the furnishings, and whilst there, our paladin did detect good and evil, or detect entities with his Moradin ability, and was unable to discover anything. After a few investigation rolls, they had discovered that the floor was hollow, and there was a room underneath. So, our druid had decided to mold earth and create an elevator system for a descent that he believed was a mere 10-20 feet deep. But as the party descended down this elevator of earth, they entered into this grandiose room. Cavern-esque with marble flooring and a pedestal at the bottom. Not a pedestal, a large mound of bones. In front of it was a demonic entity, scalish, which was muttering the draconic tongue. Once they realized such, combat broke out. A dastardly one, as the dragon-esque creature summoned a dragon of its own by raising the bones from the dead from the ground, for the party to soon realize that this was a undead black dragon, as poison came from its mouth and ravaged the party. This combat lasted forever, with, I believe, each party member going down at least once, some going down twice, and at one point it was simply up to the druid to save the day. Eventually, the party slew the beast, but not after taking ungodly amounts of damage. And that's where we left off.